green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white, bright blessed day, dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, say, how do you do? They're really saying that I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Isn't that just fabulous? One of the really great perks about being the guest speaker, that'd be me, is that Michael calls you and says, do you have any ideas about what music you'd like to have? And just to have him play the piano and sing, could go on forever, so thank you so much. Okay, building or creating a life of purpose is a huge subject. It's so huge that Wayne Dyer, when he talks about it, says that it's in the hundreds of thousands of people that he has spoken to, that's the number one question by far. It's couched different ways. Do I have a purpose? Is there such a thing as purpose? All coming back to purpose. We spoke about it a little bit this morning too. And his contention is, your very existence proves that you have purpose. In other words, when your spirit decided to take on this human form and come down here for a human experience, it didn't do it to go on vacation. It actually did it for a reason, and that was your purpose. We don't need to actually delve. Could it be to receive, learn how to receive love, have compassion, give compassion? We don't need to really address that exactness yet for what I'm going to do today. But the fact that you exist means you have purpose. Michelle Epiphany Prosser, isn't that a fabulous middle name? Epiphany. In her book, Excuse Me, Your God is Waiting, takes the same approach. She says that since we're spirit beings, God exists in all of us. In fact, we are God. We're just a human manifestation of that. So she's saying, excuse me, your God is waiting. In other words, he's waiting for you to discover and uncover yourself. Deepak Chopra, in his book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, takes on along the same kind of thing. And he gets to the last law, the 7th law, which is the law of Dharma, purpose in living. And he says that this is the most important thing that we can learn. In doing this, learning about this, he says there's 3 commitments and 3 things that we need to look at, and I'm going to talk about those today. Number 1, is you need to have an intention. What do we mean by that? You need to intend. You need to have an intention to absolutely discover your own spirituality. In other words, if we just kind of sit there, we probably aren't going to discover it or uncover it. How do you do this? Well, there's lots of ways. There's coming to unity. There's reading books. There's the fact that you can come into support groups like we have on Monday and Tuesday. You can do that. There's also other things that are easy to do. Of course, if you ask Deepak Chopra, he always says the same thing. Meditate. That's his, he believes a lot in meditation. But if you don't like to meditate, some people just don't like it. They don't care for meditation. You can at least sit in the silence. You can sit in your own home. Turn off the television. Put away the kids. You know, turn off your cell phone. But sit in the silence. There's other ways of doing it. One that I happen to like very much, and that's spending time in nature. I moved to Pacifica recently, and every morning, I was there this morning actually before dawn, I go up on the seawall, and I'm walking along. Not very many people there at dawn. But I've got the ocean on my right. I've got this magnificent golf course, which I love to play, on my left. And God's got me in a training program. He's teaching me things through certain birds. This morning when I was there, I see him a lot. I think it's a him, I don't know. But there's a blue heron, stands about this tall, magnificent bird. Unbelievable bird. You don't see very many of them, actually. But this heron is teaching me patience. Because I watch him, and he stands. And he waits. And he stands. And he waits. And then all of a sudden, God delivers breakfast. Patience. Another one that he's teaching me is through pelicans. I don't know if you've ever watched pelicans, but pelicans are fabulous. They're usually out on the ocean, right? Like I'm walking along, here's the ocean, here's the golf course, and usually they're like cruising. When they cruise in V's, and they don't flap their wings very much. They just kind of move, even into the wind they move. Well, the other day, about 2 weeks ago, here I am walking along, and when you know, here's God teaching me again. But from the land, which you don't see them very often, this heron comes up, and probably 100 feet away, not heron, but the pelican, just stands over, got the seawall like this, and he's coming out to the ocean. He's catching this air current. And he just hovers. Waits. 15, 20 seconds. Takes off. Brian, quit flapping your wings so hard. Learn to use the energy that's provided. Learn to flow down the river. Don't swim up the stream. So there are some things that we can find out. Well, that's our second one. First, we have an intention. Okay. Secondly, we need to discover, or again, uncover these wonderful things that we can do. What can you do? What kind of things do you enjoy doing? In our class, after the first week, we had an assignment. Write down the things that you enjoy doing. Well, things that you enjoy doing usually come with the fact that you do them very well. Okay? And the things that you enjoy doing are things that you should do more of. But it was interesting to watch as people shared about what they love doing. The whole atmosphere, the whole energy in the room seemed to go like this, right? It moved up. And people fidget in their seats. They're into it. It's like, and it was great. Some of them are kind of laughing now, but it was really true. So as far as I'm concerned, why don't we spend more time doing those things? So we have intention. Now we have the things that we like to do. The third is taking those things, and this is the key one, really, and that's welding them together to benefit humanity. Deepak says if you don't like meditation, just think to yourself, have an inner dialogue, a continuous inner dialogue of how can I help? 4 simple words, pretty easy to remember. How can I help? And when you start to answer that question, you'll move over and start living a life of purpose. I'd like to just cite one important example that kind of summarizes everything. I go on these walks with these retired school teachers. Now there's a wild group, retired school teachers. But we go to different parts of the city, and when we go for like an hour and a half walk, and then we have lunch, which is pretty cool. We did Potrero Hill, 72 people showed up. Yeah, and we ate at the Culinary Academy. It was fabulous. Well, 2 weeks ago, we went to Visitation Valley. And I don't know if you know what Visitation Valley is, but I'll summarize it. Visitation Valley is in the southern part of the city, and it's right next to McLaren Park, and it's been a place of extreme violence for many, many years. I know because there's a golf course called Glen Eagles, which actually fronts on Visitation Valley, and I played that golf course 2,500 times. It's a lot of times. So I've been there all times of the day, all times of the evening, into the night. But in the 80s and in the early 90s, every day that we were there were gunshots, screeching tires, people having scream-out arguments. It was a place of disharmony and violence. So this time only 31 people showed up for the walk. But that'll tell you what the general genre is. Came down off this hill, and we walked down, and we came to the Visitation Valley Middle School. And we witnessed the transformation. This used to be a place where there was gang violence, there was drugs, there was burglaries, just everything. Very difficult situation. But there's a principal there who had an intention. He had an intention to make this a safe and harmonious place. So as we walked down this path, we walked up and we looked over on the left and there was a little driving range, golf. Over on the right there was a putting green and then a chipping green. And we found out, I knew before, but this was the first tee program. And the first tee program was set up by the Professional Golfers Association to teach children, kids, life and the important pieces of life through the medium of golf. They teach integrity, cooperation, honesty, wow, all those cool things, right? And this is the first one, and believe me, there's one at Harding Park where 500 kids attend. This is not a small thing. They're all over the country. In fact, they're all over the world. They're getting more all over the world now. But this is the first one that had ever been done at an inner city school. So we witnessed that. The principal came up, Jim Durkee, I think is how you pronounce it, and he started telling us about it. He said, yeah, this has really been a wonderful program. It's so important, you know, we've really had some transformation here. He goes, why don't you look a little further down and there's a vegetable garden and a flower garden, and that's also for the students to do. And he said, we've taken 400 kids from our school, and now we have 280 of them that stay after school. And we've had a transformation. He said, this isn't all that you see. What you don't see is that we meditate twice a day. We meditate 15 minutes in the morning, and we meditate 15 minutes in the afternoon. And of course, we all thanked him. He said, we've turned a place of disharmony and violence into a place of harmony and peace it's the real zinger. Because a lot of these people that I'm with are from Reardon High School. It's a Catholic school in the city. And he said, you know, this is the most proud thing. We had 2 placements this year. We had 2 8th graders who didn't just go to the next public school. One went to SI, which is St. Ignatius, which is probably one of the most expensive schools and greatest schools in the city. And the other one went to Sacred Heart Cathedral. So we have 2 placements. These are schools that cost $20,000 a year to go to school or some kind of a figure like that. And where did these kids get it? They got scholarships. But the guys at Reardon are going, well, what about us? You know, and it's like, yeah, you got them good. There'll be somebody at Reardon next year, I guarantee it. But look at Jim Durkee. He had an intention. He had skills. I don't know what they were. I don't know what his intention was. I think it was to just bring peace and harmony in the school. But he had skills. He had organizing skills. He was the principal of a school. And when he had this intention, then the city got together and provided him the first tea program. Well, by the way, just as a sidelight, the principal said, the kids that you see here aren't our kids. Our kids are in school right now. These kids are brought from another school because this is such a successful operation that we have to share it. Okay, so getting back to Jim. He had skills. But then he said, how can I help? And he made a huge, huge difference. You know, we use this book in our class, in the Monday night class at least, Creating a Spiritual Retirement by Molly Schroed. And I was fortunate enough that through the publisher I got a chance to speak with Molly Schroed and spent like 40 minutes on the phone. And then she called to our class and talked to us personally. And Molly Schroed is a nun who met a priest, and they both left the Catholic religion, or the Catholic teaching, whatever you call it, to get married and move on. But she and I, in our conversation, you know, I told her the only problem is we have 5 people, but only 1 are retired. And she goes, well, that's okay. I had to do it this way because there's so many spiritual books that if you want to get published, you need to take a niche. But that being what it is, when she and I actually had the talk, she told me, she goes, you know, there's a tremendous light shining on the world now. There's going to be transformation. We talked about that. She was so excited that she might be part of the transformation. She had an intention. She found her skills. And she said, how can I help? Another book that I particularly like is Ken Dykewald. I love it. With Purpose, going from success to significance in work and life. And he studied the baby boomers for like 30 years. He studied the baby boomers, and he says that never has the world been in a position that it's in today where we have people who actually have time and are trying to answer the question, I've had success, how do I move to significance? Easy. Have an intention. Know your skills. How can I help? You know, I wanted a speaking engagement, and I went to Maggie, and she told me back in August, she goes, we're booked through the rest of the year. But I had an intention. 2 weeks ago, she said to me, still want to speak? And I went, yeah. But you know, when you get an intention, you start moving forward on things. Well, here I am today. You start moving forward on things, all kinds of things happen. People show up in your life. Money shows up. Situations show up. We have to recognize them and move forward on them. But But I think for each and every one of us, if we do, we can wake up every morning and say, what a wonderful world.
Wonderful lesson. And I just want to say, one of the things that I love about Brian is that he really does walk this particular talk. And I hope that you will be inspired by his example, because this church is your church. It's your church. And just as you've seen, there are people, all of you, have a special gift or talent to offer this church. And our mission is to deepen spiritual awareness and to empower personal development. And I just want to extend that invitation to you again, that if there is something that you love, if there is something that you're good at and that you want to share, please come talk to me, because we can find a way for you to be able to share that with your brothers and sisters here at USC. So again, Brian, I just want to thank you so much for modeling the possibilities for this church. It's exciting. I hope you feel excited by it, that we really can make this anything we want to. This church